Akashvani. Time for a weekly program, Our Guest. I hand over the mic to the show host, Nitish Arora, for the same.
Good morning and welcome to our guest. In our guest today, we are fortunate to have Mr. Ganesh Khude. He's a developmental sector professional and is working in the remote areas of India, strengthening the local population, giving them techniques to survive and thrive and be contributory factor to the development of nation. Ganesh ji, welcome to our studios.
Thank you.
We are talking about the areas which are like conservative heartlands of India, and the population there is like very conservative, and you are working with them. In what way you are working as a developmental professional with the tribes of India?
So, as you mentioned, India has a lot of diversity, and more than 700 tribes are there in India, and majority of them in the Schedule 5 states, which are comprised of 10 states. And we are working with them to empower them, to train them for their livelihood generation in their own ecosystem. Because palayan is a commonly heard word in the tribal heartlands because of the lack of opportunities for their work and getting the money. So generally the trend was providing them a training which will not have the working requirement or the establishments in their surrounding to generate the employment. So whether it is self-employment or the job related employment. So what we are doing is we are training them in their ecosystem so that they can get the livelihood in their own land, and which will stop the out migration, that is palayan. And so what are the strengths of that region? We are identifying that like medicinal plant. India is a nation after China which is producing and exporting the medicinal herb. So how we can teach them for processing it, giving them value add. We go on airport and we see that there are huge kind of investments and huge value is involved in finished products, like forest essentials shops are there. So what is the main source of that? It's like a forest from where the tribal belong, but they are not getting the maximum value out of it. So how that value can be passed to the last mile is our work.
Which means roti, kapra and makan, that is food, shelter and clothing are the basic primal needs for every individual. And most of these tribal people are actually equipped to, they have the skill set wherein they can like do not depend on money for that. But now you have to add money to the three essentials, roti, kapra and makan. You need to have economy also. Which means these tribal people are having their own skill sets to produce a lot of things. They are self-dependent, but that is not marketed. So you are like kind of giving them a skill set wherein their own, whatever they are good at, their own skills are basically brought into the economic framework of the nation as well.
We hear about concept of veganism. People don't eat dairy products, or they don't eat the products which are made up of the dairy and its allied thing. But tribal culture is like that, which is ingrained, in which this sustainability value system is inbuilt. So wisdom is there, the knowledge is there. In tribal weddings, in which they put a plant which enhances the oxytocin level, and they do worship of that plant. So that reach the oxytocin level are good for the pregnancy and related post-marriage major hormonal changes which takes place.
So what tribe you are talking about this? Which area?
In Jharkhand. So this is a small example. That's how the rich cultural heritage they have, but they couldn't make manifestation into the economic terms, the value addition, or they are cut off from the main economic marketing related aspects of their knowledge system.
But is it good that we are penetrating deep into the heartlands of tribal people, making them survive economically also? Are we actually giving them the skills that they do not need, or we are enhancing the skills that they already have and bringing them into the mainstream?
So when it comes to the minor forest produce, which is MFP acronym, is the tribals are collecting the minor forest produce from the forest land, core jungle areas. But the point here is, after collection of that minor forest produce, if they sell it to the middlemen, which they are selling now, they get hardly any income. They just sell it for getting the money in their hand to sustain for their daily
or sometimes even at a barter system wherein getting some produce in exchange of what they
exchange of the food items. So they are not enjoying the value additions. The income enhancement is not there. And at very throwaway prices, this middle chain from the local heart, they collect it and then they sell it at mandi level
And
and
then
export it.
sometimes the resentment comes in the tribal population that they are being cheated or something. So now we are trying actually to strengthen them so that all that they are collecting from the forest or some other skills of theirs is basically directly they are profited by that. So now that brings me to a very important question. What are the programs that we are taking to them?
So National Skill Development Corporation is doing a lot of training in that direction and trying to pilot the things, how it can work on ground zero. Basically the value addition, the entire value chain creation from that raw material. If they sell the raw material, then X amount they will get. But if slight gradation processing through skilling initiative and providing them the avenues to, along with the equipments, to process it as per the market requirement. Even if the small grading and sorting is taught, then also 20 to 30% is the value which they can enhance while selling. So, and definitely if you climb the ladder of value addition, if you can extract the khus oil from that khus plant, that khus oil will have the value around 20,000 to 22,000 per liter. Vis-a-vis the raw material will not have that much value.
So which means more or less we are trying to eliminate the middleman from the ecosystem, from the chain, and trying to strengthen the tribal people themselves, not extracting the things from the forest. They are the sons and daughters of the forest. So they are protectors of forest.
The forest, right?
And now we are strengthening them.
Yes. So as you said, they are the protectors of the forest. There is a community forest rights and individual forest rights. These are the provisions which are made in Forest Rights Act in order to get them access. So they are not destroyer or they are dependent on the forest for their livelihood. In turn, they protect it. And our programs also train them how they can rejuvenate the forest ecosystem because it's directly connected to their living.
So are there specific programs that we have taken to these tribal people? Can you name a few programs which are like helping them to strengthen their economy and to strengthen them overall?
So the Grameen Udyami was launched by National Skill Development Corporation recently. Almost more than 700 individuals were trained in phase-wise manner. So 3 phases.
And what were the target states?
States were Schedule 5 states, the candidates from Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh. It was a residential training program for 2 months. And they received training for generating livelihood opportunities in the village economy. So medicinal plant processing was one of it. Then you can see a lot of opportunities. Everyone uses two-wheelers, but they don't have the adequate means to repair it. And now also the electric vehicles are reaching to the village level. So we are training them how to repair that two-wheeler and generate the livelihood in their own villages.
Oh, which means that all the skills that are required to survive, thrive, and be a part of the national mainstream are the things that you're providing to them. Just one question pops up into my mind that you said that wisdom is there, traditional knowledge is there, and sometimes this traditional knowledge and wisdom dies its own natural death because it's not passed on, it is not codified. Alright, that we are taking our knowledge system to them, but are we actually also trying to do something to codify their knowledge system so that it strengthens entire population? Because there is a lot to learn from them. It's not that we only have to teach them. There's a lot to learn from these tribal people. So are we doing something on that note also?
Codification of knowledge is in their own system. The way of communicating or the way of documentation, they have different sets of few communities that traditionally they are doing it. We are not gone into that level, but through grain banks and the seed rejuvenation programs, like now the millet year is going on. Who eats and sow the millet? It's like it's still the staple food of
the Adivasis
and tribals. There's a lot of gluten intolerance things which we hear that PDS system provided us the wheat which gave the complications to the other food related diseases or the ailments. But this tribal culture is so much enriched and that vision is there. They are following that veganism since ages, but we were describing them tribals and not in a mainstream. Now we are adapting that same things, going back to their.
So it's just a two-way process. Not only that we are making them learn from our progress, but we are also learning from their way of living, and that is actually strengthening huge lot population. So I understand that we are in a very that frame of time wherein we are learning from these marginalized or isolated group of people, and not only learning from them, we are giving our skills. So this is going to be a very homogeneous growth when both these things come together, because otherwise they were at a loggerhead. Many a times they want to preserve their value system, they want to preserve their ways. Now that they are also opening up, so how are you penetrating into them, and what programs you are taking to them so that they also become part of the mainstream?
So government of India is very much interested into that deeper level of penetration, and there are various schemes which are launched by government of India for targeting the exact need of Adivasi community and making them thrive in their own region with their cultural wisdom and their knowledge system. And when we talk about mainstreaming them, it's not about mainstreaming them, it's like respecting their individuality, their cultural wisdom, and making them thrive in their own region, because they are the kings of jungles, the protectors of the jungles.
Any specific program that we are running?
So there is a PM Janman Yojana currently which are in its pipeline and which is targeting PVTG groups. There are more than 75.
PVTG is?
It's a particularly vulnerable tribal groups.
Okay.
Out of 700 tribes in India, there are 75 are the most marginalized group. They have identified, their habitats are identified, and focused intervention, like there is a scheduled tribe component and which channelizes entire ministries to focus on the developmental activities for growth of that region and improve the indicators, their education, health indicators, to make the tribal population grow in their.
And in fact, if they grow, they are actually going to add value to our way of living also, because that is traditional knowledge which has not percolated down to the mainstream, and mainstream people and the ecosystem needs their wisdom. And the vision of this government is कोई भी पीछे नहीं रहना चाहिए, कुछ भी छूटना नहीं चाहिए. So that inclusiveness that we are trying to bring in, that every strata of the society should be part of the society, should be a contributory part of the society. Are there any challenges that you are facing when you go deep into these pockets and work with them? So though we are running short of time, and this is a question I cannot but ask you, are there challenges when we are bringing them into the mainstream or even trying to intervene somehow to strengthen them?
So challenges are a lot, because this is like the areas where are the interiors of India, and major security related challenges were there which were now overcome due to our able leadership. The convergence is the main thing which is lacking in these areas. So a lot of repetitions or the reinventing the wheel happens. If one scheme is there,
overlapping is happening.
Overlapping is happening, and the state and the center and the local authorities should bring, and there are PESA related provisions, that is Panchayati Extension in Scheduled Areas Act, in which the Gram Sabhas are empowered to take their own decisions and think about running their own economy according to their requirement. So if these things pass on to the ground zero, then ultimate convergence will happen, and Panchayati Raj institutions will become the source of change, which is like envisioned by the Mahatma Gandhi and PM Narendra Modi ji.
So the time has actually come to look beyond the big cities, to look beyond the metros, and even to look beyond the villages also. We have already strengthened the 2-tier cities, we have also strengthened the villages. Now it is the time to strengthen our tribal population. And that is a vision which Prime Minister of India himself is very keen to implement. And young professionals like Ganesh ji, who is working in the field of development sector, are actually doing the groundwork. And I think the time is not far when we will find that every individual of this great nation is included in the fabric of the nation in a manner that we all are benefited and the nation is strengthened. Ganesh ji, thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you.
You were listening to the weekly program Our Guest, that is broadcast every Monday at 9:15 a.m. Don't forget to tune in next week, same day, same time and same frequency for more on Our Guest. Have a nice day.